Welcome back to The Race. I'm Chris Stewart, and this week we're in Detroit, and we're talking about crime in America. And technology is changing the way law enforcement does its job. Elizabeth Ruiz taking a look at how it's helping solve cold cases.
It was January of 1980 when 21-year-old Helene Pruszynski was kidnapped, raped, and murdered in Douglas County, Colorado. Her body was found in a field, but police never identified a suspect. Pruszynski's murder became a cold case.
We consider a case that does not have any viable leads after 1 to 2 years a cold case.
However, cold case detective Shannon Jensen says the case was never forgotten. Detectives continued to reopen it for 40 years. Then, with the help of new DNA technology, the suspect was identified in December of last year as James Curtis Clanton. He will be sentenced on April 10th based on the first-degree murder laws in 1980. Pruszynski's sister, the only immediate family still living, finally received the closure she had waited decades for.
She couldn't believe that after all these years, we were able to identify and arrest a suspect in her sister's murder.
One key element to solving the case was DNA from people related to Clanton. Detective Jensen actively searched a public database called GEDmatch, which is used as a way for people to learn more about their family history. She came across Rob Deal, who turned out to be Clanton's fourth cousin. When Detective Jensen reached out, he says he went through a wide range of emotions.
You know, a split second, you go, okay, I'm good. And then I think about my cousins who lived in the Denver area in the 1980s and thinking, oh, what if they're implicated?
But Rob says it didn't take long for him to realize he wanted to help, especially when he discovered how serious the crime was.
You just think it's been cold for decades and so long that if there's no evidence now, this isn't going to be solved.
So Rob gave Detective Jensen access to his family tree and his DNA. Those both are critical elements in a newly utilized DNA technology called genetic genealogy.
Traditional genealogy is using public records to document a person's family tree and their ancestors. Genetic genealogy is when you're using DNA to help with that process.
Cece Moore is the chief genetic genealogist at Parabon Nanolabs. Parabon didn't work on Ms. Pruszynski's case, but the tech company has helped law enforcement across the nation identify more than 100 criminals the past 2 years.
For us, significant amounts of DNA could be less than 1%, which is really a breakthrough because previously with law enforcement cases, you needed to have an exact match or a very close family member.
In Pruszynski's case, law enforcement in 1980 collected plenty of DNA evidence and stored it properly, making it possible for detectives today to upload a DNA profile to find her killer. In fact, Detective Jensen says she's currently in the process of solving 2 more cold cases.
It's given new life to cases that we once thought might have been unsolvable.
I'm Elizabeth Ruiz reporting.
Police departments are stepping up recruiting efforts as fewer people sign up to become officers. Alicia Nieves is looking into what's driving the change.
I grew up in a police family. I always saw the police car in the driveway, and it was always a career I wanted to go towards.
Nick Augustine followed his father's footsteps, put on a badge, and joined the force in 2001. At the time, it was common to have many new officers like him be legacy officers. But that has changed.
We see a decline in the last couple of years of we may have 1 or 2 applicants that come from a law enforcement family that are actually applying to be police officers.
20 years into the job, Augustine is now a captain in the Montgomery County Police Department, heading up the personnel division. His role has made him realize not only are there fewer legacy officers joining the force, but there are fewer people becoming police officers altogether.
In this agency, we started seeing a reduction around July 2014.
In 2014, MCPD alone had 1,400 applicants for that academy class. The next class had only 600 applicants. That's a 58% reduction.
That was alarming. We were still able to fill the classes at that point, but over the last couple sessions, that has dropped where we haven't been able to fill classes.
Across the country, 86% of police departments report having an officer shortage, with half saying the shortage has gotten worse within the last 5 years.
The salary is the big thing that our applicants are saying, but also we have to look at the social factors and why people are not applying to be police officers.
Surveys from multiple police research organizations show recent controversial events and public perception of police officers has also played a role in this shortage. To combat this, departments are upping recruitment efforts. MCPD has placed billboards outside their county and has streamlined the police officer application process.
This is a rewarding career. You never know how many people you actually affect in the community by your actions.
For The Race, I'm Alicia Nieves.
The new law helping test a backlog of rape kits. Next.